My sister said she deserved my life, so I let her taste it. She always envied my success, love, and peace, so I gave her a chance to live it, until she learned how dangerous it feels to take what isn't yours. I always knew my sister Beatrice was jealous of me, but I never imagined she'd try to be me. We grew up in Texas, daughters of modest parents who worked hard for everything they had. I was the responsible one, good grades, stable job, predictable life. She was wild, impulsive, always chasing something bigger, better, shinier. When I landed my dream position at a marketing firm in Austin, she said, "You're so lucky, Mari. Everything just falls into your hands." I laughed it off, even when I caught her scrolling through my Instagram, studying every post like she was preparing for a role. Luck had nothing to do with it, I'd built everything from scratch. My career, my apartment, my marriage to Daniel, all earned through sleepless nights and long weekends. Still, Beatrice always found a way to make me feel guilty for succeeding. Then, one afternoon, she said something that chilled me. "You don't even appreciate your life, Marina." I'd kill to have it. I thought she was exaggerating. But soon, I realized she meant every word. It began subtly, her showing up in places I hadn't told her about, wearing clothes eerily similar to mine. She dyed her hair my shade of brown, even bought the same perfume Daniel once gifted me. When I asked why, she smiled innocently. "Maybe I just admire my big sister." But admiration turned into imitation, and imitation soon became intrusion. At first, Daniel found it amusing. "She's just trying to be close to you," he'd say. "You're her role model." Maybe he was right, until she started crossing lines. One evening, I came home to find Beatrice sitting at our kitchen table, sipping wine from my favorite glass. Daniel was cooking, laughing with her like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Hope you don't mind," she said, twirling the stem of her glass. "Danny invited me." Danny. She'd never called him that before. I felt a spark of irritation, but I pushed it down. I wasn't going to be the jealous sister. Not yet. After that, she began visiting more often, sometimes when I wasn't even home. Once, my neighbor mentioned seeing her leaving the building in the morning. She said Beatrice had smiled and waved like she owned the place. Daniel insisted I was imagining things. "You're overthinking," he said. "She's lonely, that's all." But then, strange things started happening. My favorite scarf disappeared. A photo of Daniel and me vanished from the fridge. And one night, Daniel came home wearing a cologne I didn't recognize, the one I later found in Beatrice's car. When I confronted him, he brushed it off. "She gave it to me as a joke. You know," she said, "I should try something new." The word "something new" echoed in my head for days. I couldn't shake the feeling that Beatrice was replacing me piece by piece. My clothes, my habits, my husband's attention, all slowly shifting toward her orbit. Then came the dinner. She invited us both to her new apartment to celebrate her promotion. When we arrived, my stomach twisted. The place was nearly identical to ours. Same sofa, same curtains, even the same framed quote on the wall, "Work hard. Stay humble." "You copied our decor," I said, trying to sound amused. She smiled. "Oh, come on. It's not copying if I just like your taste." Throughout the night, she barely looked at me, focusing entirely on Daniel, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm when she spoke. I watched, frozen, as the man I loved smiled back in a way he hadn't in months. Later, as we drove home, I asked him straight, "Do you think she's acting weird around you?" He sighed. "Marina, you're being paranoid. She's your sister." I looked out the window, watching the city lights blur. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something deep inside whispered that my sister's envy had already crossed a line I couldn't see. And soon, I'd find out exactly how far she'd go to take my life for herself. It happened on a Thursday, the day my promotion finally came through. I couldn't wait to celebrate. I called Daniel and Beatrice, suggested dinner at our favorite Italian place, Terzo. When I arrived, they were already there, together. My heart gave a strange little jolt. Beatrice looked radiant, glowing almost unnaturally. Daniel looked pale. Nervous. We ordered wine. I started talking about my new position, the salary bump, the new responsibilities. Beatrice leaned forward, smiling too much. Then she interrupted. Actually, I have news too, she said, taking Daniel's hand across the table. My chest went cold. I'm pregnant. The room tilted. For a second, I didn't understand. Then Daniel's hand stayed on hers, and the truth hit like a tidal wave. He didn't even deny it. It just happened, he whispered. We didn't mean to fall in love. I remember the sound of the wine glass cracking under my grip, the way my voice came out calm, too calm. Congratulations, I said. Then I stood, left money on the table, and walked out without another word. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the walls of my apartment, the life she said she deserved, and realized I was finally ready to let her have it. But not in the way she expected. The next morning, I called in sick and spent the day planning. Beatrice had taken my husband, my peace, my name. I would let her live it, every exhausting, lonely, demanding piece of it. I sent her a message. You were right. You deserve my life. Come take it. Within hours, she showed up at my door with her fake smile and trembling hands. I didn't expect. I cut her off. No apologies. You wanted my world, right? It's yours now. I handed her my house keys, my company laptop, even the access card to my office. Daniel was already staying at her place, so there was nothing left to take from me. She looked confused, almost afraid. What are you doing, Marina? Letting you taste it, I said. All of it. What she didn't know was that my world wasn't as perfect as it looked. My promotion came with brutal pressure, my marriage had been crumbling for years, and the financial stress was suffocating. By the time she realized what she'd inherited, it would be too late. For the first week, Beatrice acted as if she'd won. She moved into my apartment, decorated it with her tacky gold cushions, and started posting photos online, breakfast on my balcony, selfies in my robe, captions like, finally living my dream. Daniel was there in almost every picture. The comments poured in, you two look perfect. So happy for you, B. None of them knew she was sitting in my kitchen, wearing my life. I didn't block her. I watched everything unfold like a spectator at a play I had already seen. What she didn't realize was that perfection costs, and I had left her every single unpaid bill, deadline, and responsibility that came with it. By week 2, she called me in tears. Marina, they're drowning me at work. I don't even understand these reports. Why did you never tell me it was this stressful? You said you wanted it, I replied softly. You deserve the full experience. Her voice cracked. And Daniel, he's distant. He barely talks to me. It's like he regrets everything. I almost smiled. Of course he did. Daniel was addicted to admiration, not commitment. Without me holding his world together, he was lost, and Beatrice was starting to see that. A week later, she showed up at my temporary apartment unannounced. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed, the fake glow completely gone. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. Your job is impossible. Your boss hates me. Daniel doesn't come home. He says I ruined his life. I leaned back, crossing my arms. You said you wanted my life, Beatrice. You said I didn't appreciate it. Now you've lived it. How does it feel? Her lip trembled. It's not fair. Everything looks perfect from the outside, but inside it's exhausting? Lonely? Heavy? I interrupted. Yeah. Welcome to it. She stared at me for a long time. You planned this. I smiled faintly. I didn't have to plan anything. You did it to yourself. After that conversation, I thought it was over. I thought she'd pack up, go back to her small-town apartment, and leave me in peace. But envy doesn't die easily, it mutates. 2 nights later, I got a call from Daniel. His voice was shaking. She's gone crazy, Marina. She's been following me, showing up at my office. She even told my boss that I stole company money. They're investigating me. I almost didn't believe him until I saw the headlines a few days later. Local salesman under investigation for fraud. Beatrice had filed an anonymous report using my old credentials from the company system. She wasn't trying to ruin him, she was trying to ruin me. The account was still in my name. I spent 3 sleepless nights gathering proof, screenshots, emails, timestamps. The IT department confirmed that all the access logs came from my old laptop, the one I'd handed her myself. When the police called to question me, I gave them everything. Every detail of her obsession, every message she'd ever sent about deserving my life. They promised to investigate. The next day, I drove to her place, my old apartment, and found her sitting on the floor, surrounded by unpaid bills and unopened letters. She looked at me with hollow eyes. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered. I just wanted what you had. I knelt beside her. No, Beatrice. You wanted to be me. But you never understood, being me means carrying the weight too. Her hands trembled as she reached for mine. I'm pregnant, Marina. And I don't even know if I can keep it. For the first time in months, something in me softened. Despite everything, she was still my sister, lost, broken, consumed by envy. I took a deep breath. Then stop living my life, B. Start living yours. Weeks passed. The fraud charges were dropped after the investigation cleared my name. Daniel left town, claiming he needed a fresh start. I didn't stop him. He'd always been part of the chaos. Beatrice checked into therapy. Our parents, who had stayed silent through all of this, called me once. Mom cried, saying, "You girls used to be inseparable." I didn't correct her. The truth was, we'd never been inseparable, we'd just been tied together by competition disguised as sisterhood. One evening, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text, a handwritten note. Marina, you were right. I never wanted your life. I just wanted to feel worthy of mine. I'm leaving Austin for a while. Maybe someday I'll come back, as myself. Thank you for letting me taste it. I finally understand. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. For the first time in a long time, the silence in my apartment didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like peace. Months later, I was promoted again, this time to regional director. The kind of position I used to dream about. I stood by the office window that morning, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise over the city. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Thank you, Marina. I'm okay. The baby's okay too." No signature, but I didn't need one. I smiled, a small, tired, forgiving smile. That night, I went through my old photos. There we were, 2 little girls covered in cake, laughing in our backyard. I traced the image with my finger and whispered, "I hope you finally find yourself, B." I had spent years building a life that looked perfect. And then, when someone tried to steal it, I realized perfection had never been what I wanted, only freedom. A year later, I moved to a smaller house by the lake. No marble counters, no luxury furniture, just space, light, and quiet mornings. Sometimes, I still get messages from people who knew us both. You and your sister still don't talk, they ask. I usually reply, we're both living our lives now. That's enough. But every now and then, when I smell that old perfume, the one she used to wear after copying me, I smile. Because I know she's somewhere out there, finally living her own story. She once said she deserved my life. I gave her the chance to live it, and it broke her illusions. Now, for the first time, both of us are free.